All right, listener, welcome to the deep dive. We've got something special cracked open today.
Special might be underselling it. We're talking about diving headfirst into a whole anthology of Warhammer 40k stories. Get ready for a wild ride.
Oh, you know we're ready for this. And you know it pairs perfectly with a grimdark galaxy full of bolters and chainswords, a heaping helping of philosophical dilemmas.
And this anthology delivers, trust me. Right from the get-go, it's like someone bottled the essence of duty and injected it straight into our veins. Except, less sterile and more likely to involve a chain fist to the face.
Standard 40k procedure, really. But seriously, the length these characters go to, the sacrifices they make in the name of duty, it makes you wonder if there's even a difference between faith and fanaticism when you're staring down the barrel of a demon horde.
Well, let's just say the Imperium doesn't really have a casual Friday policy when it comes to facing down existential threats.
More like every day is a struggle for survival against nightmarish creatures and ancient evils kind of vibe.
Exactly, but that's what makes these stories so compelling, right? Take Gessart's Renegade Space Marines, for example.
Oh, we got to talk about those guys. Renegade Space Marines sound like a recipe for chaos with a side of bolter fire.
Oh, absolutely. But here's the thing. They've broken away from the Imperium. They've declared themselves free. There's always a but in the 41st millennium.
True that.
They're still clinging to this code, a sense of duty, so ingrained it's practically a part of their DNA. It's like they traded one inflexible master for another, even if that new master is, themselves, which might be even scarier when you think about it.
Oh, 100% agree.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of super soldiers with the firepower to level a city block, and they're following their own immense sense of right and wrong. That's a recipe for a very short, very messy conflict.
Right. And it makes you wonder, in this grim darkness, can anyone truly escape the shackles of duty? Or is it just a matter of choosing which master to serve, even if that master is your own unyielding sense of purpose?
Heavy stuff, but fascinating, right?
Absolutely. And it gets even heavier when you consider the different flavors of duty on display in this anthology. We've got the stoic, unwavering commitment of the Silver Skulls, willing to face down any odds to recover a fallen brother.
Talk about loyalty. The Silver Skulls take brotherhood to a whole new level. They're the epitome of no one gets left behind, even if it means charging headfirst into a meat grinder.
They're a powerful reminder that even in this galaxy of endless war, there's still room for those kinds of bonds. But on the flip side, you've got the brutal efficiency of the Warbringers in the Carrion Anthem. These guys make pragmatism look terrifying.
Oh, those guys. They're like the embodiment of grim determination, except they express that determination through a symphony of bolter fire and chain fists.
Don't forget the orbital bombardments. Never forget the orbital bombardments.
How could I? It's practically their calling card.
Yeah.
But what makes you wonder, where's the line? When does unwavering dedication to a cause, even a noble one, tip over into, well, something else entirely?
That's the million cred question, isn't it? And it's a question that this anthology forces you to confront again and again. It's a question that takes on a whole new dimension when you factor in the allure of the forbidden. This anthology doesn't just flirt with that concept. It takes it on a death world expedition and leaves it to fend for itself.
Sounds about right. But that's the thing about forbidden knowledge, isn't it? It's like a beacon in the void, promising power and whispering secrets you can barely comprehend.
And in a universe as grim and desperate as the 41st millennium, let's just say those whispers can be pretty convincing, even to those who should know better.
Yeah, it's easy to say resist the temptation when you're not the one staring down a horde of bloodthirsters with nothing but a rusty lasgun and a prayer. This anthology doesn't shy away from those moral dilemmas. It throws you right into the thick of it and says, okay, hotshot, what are you going to do?
Exactly. And those dilemmas, they hit harder than a Space Marine drop pod. Take the Eldar artifact in the Carrion Anthem, for example.
Oh man, that thing was trouble. From the moment they laid eyes on it, you could practically feel the warp energy radiating off of it.
It was like the ultimate forbidden fruit, just begging to be touched. And you know what they say about curiosity and the feline?
Let's just say it rarely ends well for the cat. Or in this case, for anyone within a 5-mile radius. But can you blame them for being tempted? I mean, the Eldar are notorious for their mastery of technology and psychic powers. Their stuff is practically legendary.
Legendary and dangerous in equal measure, which, let's be honest, kind of sums up the 41st millennium in a nutshell.
Truth. And it's not just individual temptations we're talking about here. Let's not forget the Imperium's official stance on forbidden knowledge, which can be summed up as burn it all and let the Emperor sort it out.
Subtlety isn't exactly their strong suit.
Well, you know what they say. When you've got a galaxy to purge, sometimes you got to break out the heavy flamer of censorship.
I guess that's one way to put it. But their paranoia does make a certain amount of sense when you think about it. The Imperium is this vast, crumbling empire held together by duct tape, prayers, and the occasional orbital bombardment.
Don't forget the constant threat of chaos. Those warp-spawned nightmares just waiting to plunge the galaxy into eternal darkness.
Right. So from their perspective, forbidden knowledge is like a crack in the foundation, something that could bring the whole shaky edifice crumbling down, which ironically probably makes it even more tempting to certain individuals.
It's human nature, right? The more you try to suppress something, the more it festers in the shadows. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about a faction that embraces its wild side. The Space Wolves.
Ah, yes. The Emperor's furry, axe-wielding warriors. They're a fascinating bunch, brutal and savage, but also fiercely loyal and surprisingly spiritual.
And don't forget the drinking songs. You haven't lived until you've heard a chorus of Space Wolves belting out a drinking song after a successful raid.
I'll be sure to add that to my bucket list. But their story in this anthology, it's pure Space Wolf goodness, complete with acid rain, ancient artifacts, and enough chain fists to satisfy even the most discerning fan of over-the-top violence.
It's set on Gath Rimmon, right? That planet that's basically one giant acidic death trap.
The very same. And the only time it's even remotely hospitable is during a brief window every 5,000 years when the acid tides recede.
Talk about a hostile work environment. But of course, the Space Wolves being the Space Wolves, they decide to land there anyway.
Right.
Because, hey, where's the fun in exploring a planet that isn't trying to melt your face off?
Exactly. And this time they're on the hunt for some ancient artifact, something rumored to be of great power naturally.
Because who needs a vacation when you can risk life and limb for a chance at uncovering some long-lost piece of tech?
Right. And where there are rumors of ancient tech, there's always a tech priest willing to risk life and limb to get their augmetic hands on it. Enter Karis, our intrepid and somewhat hapless tech priest for this particular adventure.
Poor Karis. He's like a kid in a candy store, except the candy store is filled with carnivorous plants, the air is toxic, and the other patrons are 7-foot-tall super soldiers who communicate primarily through growls and chain fists.
It's a recipe for disaster, but also for some classic 40k dark humor.
Oh, absolutely. You got to find the humor in the darkness, right? Otherwise, you'd go mad. But it's the ending of their story that really sticks with me. They finally reached this artifact they've risked so much for, this thing that's been driving them through this hellscape, and it's gone.
Oof, vanished. Like it was never even there. Talk about an anticlimax.
It's like the universe itself is saying, yeah, nice try, kids. Some secrets are best left buried.
A classic 40k gut punch, and a reminder that even in a galaxy teeming with ancient technology and unassassinable power, some mysteries are better left unsolved.
Or maybe the real treasure was the friends they made along the way. Just kidding. This is Warhammer 40k. Friendship is for heretics.
Amen to that. But speaking of heretics and things best left undisturbed, remember how we were talking about the Tyranids and their whole psychic annihilation thing?
Oh yeah, I'm not likely to forget that anytime soon. It sent chills down my spine, to be honest. The idea that something could not just destroy you physically, but also consume your very essence, your soul.
It's the stuff of nightmares. And in The Last Flight of the Eisenstein, we see that nightmare play out in horrifying detail.
Poor Nord. He's trapped aboard that doomed ship, fighting not just for his life, but for his very identity as the hive mind closes in.
It's a battle for his soul, and the stakes couldn't be higher. What makes this story and the whole Tyranid threat so terrifying is that it taps into this primal fear of being consumed, of being absorbed into something vast and uncaring. It's like being swallowed whole by a cosmic horror that doesn't even register your existence.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse. Well, let's just say the 41st millennium has a way of proving that things can always get worse. You know, sometimes you're reading a scary story and you think, okay, can't get any worse than this, and then, bam! The author throws in something that just makes your skin crawl.
That's the Necrons. In a nutshell, they're that unexpected plot twist that leaves you sleeping with the lights on.
Talk about an unwelcome wake-up call. They've been slumbering for millennia, these skeletal robots, just waiting for the right moment to hit the snooze button on all of existence.
And when I say snooze button, I mean annihilation protocol. These guys don't believe in half measures.
The Last Stand doesn't hold back on showing us just how nasty the Necrons can be. I mean, we're talking about a race so ancient, so technologically advanced that they make the Imperium look like a bunch of kids playing with sticks and stones.
Sticks and stones that can level a planet, but yeah, you get the idea. What's truly chilling about the Necrons is their motivations. It's not about conquest or domination, not really. It's about reclaiming what they believe is rightfully theirs. And if that means wiping the slate clean, well,
They've had millions of years to think about it. I guess you could say they've earned the right to be a little grumpy. But seriously, the way this anthology portrays them, it's like staring into the abyss and realizing the abyss has a chillingly efficient plan for galactic domination.
and the firepower to back it up. But before we all succumb to existential dread, let's remember those flickers of hope we talked about earlier. Because even in the darkest corners of the 41st millennium, even against foes as relentless as the Tyranids or as ancient as the Necrons, there's always resistance.
There's always a fight. And that's where the anthology's exploration of faith takes on a whole new meaning. We're not just talking about blind devotion, although there's plenty of that to go around. This is about finding something to cling to in the face of overwhelming darkness, a reason to keep fighting, even when all hope seems lost.
And boy, do those reasons vary. You've got the Crimson Consuls in the long games at Carcharias, betrayed by their own chapter, their fortress monastery crumbling around them, facing down a full-blown demonic invasion.
Talk about a bad day at the office.
And yet, they never give up. They rally, they fight back, fueled by their faith in the Emperor and their loyalty to one another.
It's a testament to the power of brotherhood in a galaxy that often feels cold and unforgiving.
Absolutely. And then you've got someone like High Chaplain Enobarbus, a beacon of unwavering faith in a sea of doubt. He faces down a horde of demons with nothing but a Crozius and a prayer, and you know what? It's inspiring.
He's like the embodiment of that never-say-die spirit that defines so many of the Imperium's heroes. But he's not just blindly charging into battle, is he? There's a strategic mind behind those burning eyes, a tactical genius fueled by his unwavering faith.
It's a fascinating contrast to the way the Adeptus Mechanicus approaches faith. If the Space Marines are all about fiery passion, the Tech Priests are all about cold, hard logic, even when it comes to the divine.
The ultimate tinkerers, those tech priests, always trying to dissect and understand, to quantify and control. It's what makes someone like Zirin in The Last Flight of the Eisenstein such a tragic figure. He gets so consumed by his pursuit of knowledge, his desire to unlock the secrets of the Tyranid hive mind, that he loses sight of his own humanity.
It's a cautionary tale about the seductive nature of knowledge, especially in a galaxy where the line between progress and damnation is often blurred. But hey, that's what makes the 41st millennium so compelling, right?
It's a universe of contradictions, of brutal realities and inspiring acts of heroism, of ancient evils and the unwavering hope that somehow, someday, good might actually prevail.
It's a wild, unpredictable, and often terrifying ride. But it's a ride we keep coming back to time and time again.
And with this anthology, listener, you've got a first-class ticket to that wild ride. You've got your epic battles, your thought-provoking dilemmas, your terrifying alien threats. It's a grim, dark buffet, and trust us, you'll want to savor every bite.
Just be sure to pace yourself. You wouldn't want to get a case of existential indigestion.
Until next time, listener, may your bolters never jam and your chainswords stay sharp.
And may the Emperor have mercy on us all. Because the 41st millennium sure as hell won't.